Did you expect the holiday week to only have 2 videos? I didn't either. I didn't quite realize how close to the end I actually was. And that's sort of one of the things I really love about the Harry Potter series is it doesn't feel like it's just gonna stop. It keeps going for me, and I absolutely adore that. Okay. So this video is about 2 chapters, and that would be the Chamber of Secrets and the Heir of Slytherin, because really you sort of can't do these 2 easily separate, because the events are very quickly following through, and to get the most out of it you sort of need to look at the 2 chapters as a whole. Oh, and I love these chapters because we finally get this confrontation. We finally figure out who the Heir of Slytherin is. And so as I was reading this, I ran into this problem that you're seeing in the title, which is the dangers of self-absorption. Because man, are there some characters here that if they just pulled their heads out of some orifices that polite society would not have me repeat, could be doing something so much better right now. But they're not. And again, for the full effect of this, you actually have to go across both chapters to see this fully. Because really, we're gonna see the worst of those dangers in the later chapter, but we actually see them building up earlier and from people that we don't see as bad. I will culminate this video in a discussion of Tom Riddle. There's no way around that. And Tom Riddle, as the little that he is, we would see as evil. Like I said, he's already killed a person, he has no problem killing a couple more. What becomes interesting then is the people we actually see in the earlier chapter who have the same issue of self-absorption. For example, Percy. I mean, we have this incident in the earlier into Chamber of Secrets chapter, not book, where Ginny comes to Harry and Ron and she's looking terrified and they're like, you know something. And Percy shows up and Ginny runs and they're just like, she was going to talk to us. And he's just like, nah, that's not about the Chamber of Secrets, it was something about me. She promised not to say anything if she couldn't resist. No, Percy! No! No! Because the problem here, and the danger we're running into here, is Percy can't see anybody else. At all. Because if he could, he would have known that was stupid, because he himself has been concerned about Ginny this entire book. Way back when we had the pepper-up potions mentioned, when it was just starting to get into the cooler season in fall, and colds were going around. So way back, it was Percy insisting that Ginny take some pepper-up potion, because she was looking pale. Honestly, Percy here should know better. But because his focus is on himself, he actually misses what's going on. And what I find interesting is this allows us to recognize this pushback against the self-absorption through 2, I want to say simple things, but they're not. They're simple enough to name, they're really difficult often to achieve. And that is self-awareness, which is different from self-absorption, and self-sacrifice. Because self-awareness requires you to recognize yourself fully. But that is not only yourself. That self-awareness is to recognize your strengths, your weaknesses, and your relationship to the whole. So you need to sort of know how your actions affect those around you just as much as your actions affect yourself. And this is sort of the positive self-care that you want. You want this self-awareness. So you know that when you're being hurt, or when you're perceiving you're being hurt but you're not actually being hurt, and how to deal from that. Because that's what Percy's missing right now. He doesn't have that awareness of his actions to the whole. He doesn't have this awareness that maybe Ginny has other problems other than my brother has a girlfriend. She has 7 brothers. I think she understands the concept of boy likes girl. Boy-girl kiss. Like, it's not that difficult. She might be young, but when you have a lot of older siblings, you grow up a little bit faster in some ways. Ginny here is the interesting one to then compare to Percy, because Ginny's starting to get this self-awareness. It's frightening her, because she doesn't have all her memories, she's got holes, but she's figuring out that she is probably guilty here. And she's willing to take that step up to the self-sacrifice. She's willing to look Harry and Ron in the eye and say, I think I'm petrifying people. I think I'm the one that's going to get somebody killed. But Percy, a little too self-absorbed here. So what you get the feeling of in this moment is it is not just bad guys that have these flaws. A lot of people are going to have these flaws. First danger we get is that inability to recognize others. And whether that's their problems, whether or not that's our actions towards those other people, or their actions towards us. Being too self-absorbed means you're going to miss that. And then we start moving into the people that maybe we dislike a little more. Lockhart! Oh god, Lockhart. Oh, okay. The little danger we get on this one, and then we get a bigger danger later, is you annoy the hell out of everybody when you're too self-absorbed. Like, when Harry and Ron are hiding in the closet, because they figured things out, they've gone to tell profs, they've found out Ginny's been kidnapped, they're hiding in the closet, and all the teachers just sarcastically ream out Lockhart. Didn't you say you always knew what was in the chamber and you had found it and you will go do something? They are at their wits' end in regards to Lockhart's just total self-absorption. Like I said, he's not aware of him and everybody else. So he annoys everybody else. And that comes back to bite him in the butt. But, well, we're on the subject of butts now. But that is not the largest danger to be concerned about here. Because the largest danger in being self-absorbed is actually your lack of recognition of the self. Like, when you're self-absorbed, you think you have everything figured out about yourself, and you don't. And we get a very physical representation of this with Lockhart and the backfiring memory charm. So what actually happens is not only has he annoyed everybody, but he's lost himself completely in this creation of himself that he believes he's made. He brags about himself in all of these books and outside of these books, and he never once, for some reason, expects that to have consequences. Like, it never occurs to him that he has to be able to present what he's claiming he is. So when he's asked to step up, he can't. And it causes sort of this breakdown. And for a moment it looks like he has a moment of self-awareness because he fully admits, like, no, I'm good at memory charms, like, except he doesn't, because the entire time he's sort of trying to explain himself to Harry about the fact that he's running away, he's saying things like, being famous is difficult, and things like this. Yet, he never once admits that without the books, he wouldn't be famous. And Lockhart can't see that. I'm famous because I'm famous. That's his reasoning. And he's not willing to admit that there are issues with that reasoning. Because he's just self-absorbed. He's looking at himself like, I'm famous. And never asking himself why. When I think that's something he really should be. And what then happens, like I said, is a very physical representation of this complete loss of self. Because he loses all memory whatsoever. Again, we have the slip up where he's not noticing issues with other people. Because Ron's wand has been broken all year. Yet Lockhart in his head assumes that his memory charm is fine. No, any other prof knows that Ron's wand is broken. They're not going to trust it to do anything. Never mind something that's supposed to be extremely delicate. So instead, he blasts himself, completely decimates who he is, and suddenly has this self-awareness for being nothing but a smile. And what I mean by this is, when this goes again into our final chapter, but it's better to bring it up here, when they finally get out and they're talking to Dumbledore, Dumbledore says, "You're being super humble and quiet, Lockhart, Professor Lockhart," and they're just like, yeah, no, he blasted himself with a memory charm, he can't remember anything. And Lockhart's response to hearing being called Professor Lockhart is, "Am I a professor? Goodness, I expect I was hopeless, was I?" Lockhart, with his memory, would never have said that. He would never have thought, yeah, I was a hopeless professor. Because he would just see, no, I was good in untraditional ways. And when his memory's gone, he's sitting there going, was I a professor? Hopeless. Hopeless professor. Yeah, you were. So it takes the complete decimation of himself to erase that self-absorption and allow for self-awareness. And this is not the way we want to do things. Like, we don't want to have to lose ourselves fully in order to find ourselves. We can lose ourselves a little bit. That's something that's going to happen to everybody. But we don't want to this extent, where we know nothing of ourselves. We want to do it at least in stages. Stages is safe. But if you're too self-absorbed, you're not going to have the opportunity. You're either going to remain self-absorbed, or you're going to have a complete breakdown of the self in order to then become self-aware. So Lockhart needs to step off, except now he's good. Except now he's never going to be good, because what he did is not fixable. And that's not a good thing. That's definitely something that everybody wants to avoid. Also avoid being Tom Riddle. Mr. Tom Marvola Riddle. I am the Lord Voldemort. Look how my name changes. Riddle. I don't like this man. But in some ways I do. And I hate it. But Tom Riddle in the chapter The Heir of Slytherin, when they're physically in the Chamber of Secrets, is just the culmination of what Percy and Lockhart are showing. Because this man knows nothing, and he thinks he knows everything. And the problem is, in a lot of ways, he should. Tom Riddle has been touted as being very intelligent. Even Dumbledore says it. He's been touted as being very powerful. Even Dumbledore says it. And then you meet him here, and if he was self-aware, this world would be gone. But he's not. He's self-absorbed. Like, he's so totally just... And again, we're getting a physical representation of this. Tom Riddle is so self-absorbed that he absorbs others into himself to gain strength. Because we see it with Ginny having her soul sucked into the diamond. Like, And this self-absorption makes Tom Riddle an idiot at points. An idiot. I'm gonna find the quote. Because I was writing these notes while I was proctoring an exam. And I've never had to swallow so much frustration in order to remain quiet as I did when I was writing about look at my pretty name, all the letters change around, Riddle. Because of his self-absorption, Riddle makes amateur mistakes. This boy is smart and powerful, and he's 16, which gives him 4 years on Harry, plus all the additional information that Ginny's been feeding him this entire year. Harry gets hit by the basilisk fang. And I quote, "You're dead, Harry Potter. Dead. Even Dumbledore's bird knows it. Do you see what he's doing, Potter? He's crying." Riddle is so wrapped up in himself, and he's just flaunting his victory. Phoenix tears, of course. Healing powers. I forgot. Tom Riddle knew the property of Phoenix tears. He was able to identify Fawkes as a phoenix immediately. This is a stupid mistake. Especially for someone like Tom Riddle. But he's so wrapped up in himself that he forgot what he already knew. And for a moment he hesitates. For a serious moment, I'm going to show this to you as well as I can. We get this hesitation in the form of 1, 2, 3, 4 sets of ellipses. For a moment, Tom Riddle hesitates in his self-absorption. Because he knows he should have known that. But it's too late. He tries to chase the phoenix off, but it's too late. And these are the mistakes that Tom Riddle is making through this entire scene. he's constantly overestimating himself and underestimating Harry. Which is weird because Tom talks about how similar he and Harry are. He should be aware of Harry's capabilities at this point in time. But it doesn't go through his head that way. There is a point where he's about to call the basilisk. And this is where we see again that loss of self, because he's got this association going to Harry. Yet he refuses to recognize Harry's power. Even when he states something like this: "Twice in your past, in my future, we have met, and twice I failed to kill you. How did you survive? Tell me everything." Okay, he's aware of his faults. And then he continues, "The longer you talk, the longer you stay alive." Tom admits that he's tried to kill Harry twice and has failed. And then says, "Obviously I'm going to kill you now." Not once does it go through his head that this kid might be capable, having defeated him twice, one point at his most powerful, at another point where he's sort of similar to what's going on with the memory here, this weird wraith memory thing. And 16-year-old Tom Riddle goes, "Obviously I'm going to beat you this time. Tell me what happened last time." Did you ever think that he might have that power? No, because he sees the similarities in Harry, but he never once recognizes the differences and how those differences might actually affect him. Because Harry is self-aware here. When Tom Riddle talks about himself being the most powerful wizard, Harry doesn't go, "Well, I beat you twice, so I think I might be powerful too." No, he says, "Most powerful wizard, Albus Dumbledore." Like, Harry doesn't put his name into that running. When he's talking to Tom Riddle, he fully admits, "When I was a baby and I beat you, it was probably my mother." But what Harry's pointing out is, hey, look at all these other people that have actually beaten you and matched your power, or probably better than you. And Tom Riddle's not recognizing it at all. He's just sort of like, until Dumbledore comes into the mix, and then he gets angry. Like, Tom Riddle is so self-absorbed, he is not aware of his own weaknesses in this moment, and how screwed over he's gonna get because of it. He just thinks, "I'm the best," and Harry's just like, "How about that?" Because along with, again, this self-awareness of Harry is this willingness to recognize he needs help. He's willing to sacrifice himself if he needs to. But he's also willing to ask for help. Like, Fox shows up and drops the sorting hat and he's just like, "I have no idea why this would be helpful, but I trust Dumbledore," so he puts the hat on and he asks for help. Like, he is now blind in a battle, fighting a blind snake, but the snake is a lot bigger than him, and also has Tom Riddle shouting instructions. So, like, he puts it on and he's just like, "I could use help," and he is given help because he asks for it. Tom Riddle would never do this. He doesn't expect Harry to do it because he only sees how Harry is himself, not how Harry is Harry. And I think this is a major mistake we all need to keep in mind. Because this self-absorption, particularly with Tom Riddle, is not going away anytime soon. And Harry might be getting swords out of hats, but Voldemort trusts nobody but himself. And he doesn't know himself enough to know what to trust about himself. It's gonna get a lot messier from here. And it's already gotten super messy. Okay. I've got one more chapter to do, so one more video coming up this week. And then I'll be off on holidays. And then at the start of the new year, I'll be heading on into Prisoner of Azkaban. So I'll see you probably tomorrow with the final Chamber of Secrets video. Bye!